Howdy folks, this is Big Sam, and today I'm excited to bring to you the long-awaited, long-promised Mosin Yugoslavian PU Sniper project. I've promised this was coming for a while, and I'm excited to finally bring it to you guys. So what do actually we have here? Well, I misled y'all a little bit. This is actually two rifles. There's two projects. Over here was kind of what we started with the first one. And up here is the finished product. So this is the first one, and this one we haven't gotten to yet. So what are we looking at here? Well, these rifles, these two rifles, are actually original PU snipers, non-refurbished. And they were both made by the Ijevsk Arsenal in 1944. This particular batch of rifles was imported by Samco, and these are known as the Samco snipers. Now, in a future video, we will be doing a full case study on exactly what these rifles are, and perhaps some of the variations within them. And we'll be looking at even more rifles than this. But for today, we won't go into the full history. What you need to know is that these are unrefurbished, original PU snipers imported from Yugoslavia. And both of these rifles were interesting because they were actually imported to the United States as barreled actions. So if we look here, they were both imported like this. So no parts at all, no trigger components, no ejectors, no anything. We can see there's no front sight. And we can see the bore is in, it's in fairly nice condition. These have not been counterbored. They have been shot though, which is kind of cool. So these are used guns, but in very nice condition. Now notice here, we see the sight base. It actually did not come with a sight base. So this whole sight base was not on this gun. And this is actually really annoying because if we look here, let me get my pointers, this works a little bit better than my fingers do. Right here, you see these two holes? Well, the way this sight base works is you actually drive a pin through here. And there's actually a dovetail on the barrel. And you basically pin the mount and connect it to the barrel, essentially, is what you're doing here. When the problem with doing this is if the base here is gone, chances are these pins are not going to line up quite right. In fact, it's almost certain that they're not going to line up quite right. So really what you have to do here is actually get a drill press and drill this hole all the way through. The variance is just a little bit, but it's enough that you really can't put a pin in here unless you drill out a whole hole just a little bit. And really what you're doing there is you're drilling a hole through the dovetail on the barrel itself so that the holes line up with that. And you might say, well, Big Sam, you shouldn't be doing that to an original PU sniper. Well, you know, it is what it is. I don't particularly like that solution, but as we'll look later on this guy, it actually works pretty well. And again, we're not like drilling new holes. As you can see the light on each side. I mean, it's really close. It's just not quite right. So you just have to finish it that last little bit. But once you do that, you're pretty much good to go. You get the pin in here. But, you know, that's a lot of work. And not everybody has access to a drill press. So I wouldn't recommend it, but some people may use like a hand drill or something. Yeah, you know, you do what you have to do, but ideally it's something nice and parallel like a drill press is really the best tool for the job here. Okay. So this is what we started with. So what did I do to go from this to this for this guy? Well, like I mentioned, the first thing was to get the sight base on here. And this is actually really annoying because there's actually 3 types of sight bases for the Mosin Nagant 9130 rifle. A Type 1 actually doesn't even have these holes. A Type 1 had no holes. It was actually soldered onto the barrel. And there's a little screw right here to secure it. That's no good. That's not correct for this gun. So what we have here is actually a Type 3 pattern. The Type 2 pattern had these holes. I get my camera focuser. Had these holes. However, and what the issue there was is it also had this screw, which is also not correct for this gun. We want a Type 3, which just has these 2 holes here. So it's actually a pain to find a Type 3, because a lot of times when you find someone selling a sight base, it's either the wrong type, a Type 1 or a Type 2, or they don't even tell you which type it is, so it's a gamble. This guy was a particular nightmare. I actually had to buy a whole set of these from a guy in Sweden, and I assume he got them imported from Finland, but this is actually a correct Type 3 sight base here. So it's a little bit of a pain to find these. So you have to find the Type 3 because that's what's correct for a 1944 9130. So I found that, and then what was really nice was I found a PU Sniper parts kit. That was great because it came with a PU Sniper stock that already had the cut on it. As we can see here, it already had this cut on it. And it also came with all of the little parts, which is nice. So things like the trigger, the magazine, the bolt components, the ejector components, your barrel bands, even a front sight. All of that it came with, which is really handy. In fact, the only things it didn't come with were, well, it had a sight base on the barrel, but I didn't want to use that one. And in fact, when I got that, I actually it didn't matter because I'd already gotten this done anyway, so I couldn't have even used it. But I could have used that because I think it was the correct type. But all right, and as you can see, you know, I mean, it's not amazing, but these holes definitely line up decently well, and it works. I mean, if I didn't tell you this was drilled out with a drill press and repinned, you may not even notice it. Let's look at the other side. Not too bad, guys. Could be a lot worse. It didn't come with the scope or the mount, so I had to get these sourced from Russia. And that was great because shipping took, 3 or 4 weeks to get here, but it was a pretty good deal. This particular scope on this rifle is actually a Kazan scope made in 1943, so kind of a more uncommon variety of PU scope, so that's cool. And that's the type of thing you can find on eBay. A lot of those are on eBay. So look around for some PU scopes on eBay. There's actually quite a few for sale, at least right now. That could change in the future, but this is not really hard to find. But if you shop around a little bit, you can find a good deal on the scope, the mount, and the base. It also came with a fake sniper bolt. I didn't really like that, so what I ended up doing was buying a real sniper bolt. You can see this one is unnumbered. This was meant to be a replacement bolt, but this is a real sniper bolt. This actually came from the Ukraine, and it cost me about $130. So not a bad price. They're generally more expensive than that, so I was happy to get that deal. Yeah, so all in all, let's see, how much did all of this cost? Well, you know, it really depends on how much you get the barreled action for. These aren't really easy to find, but if you're interested in a project like this, I would always pay close attention to any time someone's selling a Mosin Nagant, they're advertising as drilled or drilled and tapped, because occasionally it'll actually be a correct sniper rifle that's drilled out, and they just don't realize it. Now, so a hole pattern should look like this. Now, if it says drilled and tapped and it's got holes, you know, up here on the top or anything like that, that's not right. You probably don't want to buy that if you're doing a PU sniper restoration project. But you have these pinholes here and here, and then your actual threaded screw holes here and here. That's a PU pattern. So just pay close attention to that, because you never know what you'll find. Also, we can see here, this is the original scope serial number that was on this rifle. In the next video where we do a case study, we'll talk about exactly what happened to the scopes. But that's a story for another day. But it's cool that we can see that. It's not crossed out or anything. That's pretty neat. All right. This wasn't a whole lot of money. If you can find a barreled action, you know, the parts kit was around $300 US. This was 130 US dollars. The scope, the mount, and the base all together were probably around 450 US dollars. So, you know, this is not like really cheap, but at the same time, if we look at this rifle, this is an original non-refurbished PU sniper rifle for World War II. And there's really not a ton of these out there. Almost all of these are fakes or refurbished ones. So finding one in original condition is really nice. And these particular rifles are interesting. Some of them, they'll actually have kind of a plum finish on the barrel. I don't know if this one has it, but some of them do. Really lovely, though. I mean, these are beautiful rifles. And I just highly recommend these. It's kind of a beater gun because it's a project, right? We had to drill these out with a drill press, but at the same time, it's a really nice, cool, historic gun. It's just a fun gun to shoot. You know, I don't really worry about, you know, am I going to scratch it? I really don't about any Mosins because it's a Mosin and they all have scratches. Character is just part of their charm. That's one of the reasons Mosins are so great, is because we can shoot them and enjoy them without really having to worry about, you know, some of the drawbacks of that. As long as you take care of it, you know, it's going to keep shooting well. It's going to keep holding its value, or hopefully go up in value. Yeah, so take care of your rifle, of your Mosin, but yeah, don't sweat, you know, using it and enjoying it, because that's what these guys are for. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something about some interesting PU snipers, and hopefully this gave you some ideas or inspiration for your own project. Again, this is something that's great because, you know, you'll spend some time shopping and figuring out how you're going to put this together, and it's time that you could have spent, you know, getting into trouble. That's how I see it. So if this is a great stress reliever and something like this, a project, I highly recommend it. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what y'all would like to see next. Let me know if you have any prayer requests, and I'll see you next time.